Sharon is the Director of Research at the Center for Social and Behavior Change. She's a developmental economist and a behavioral scientist. She uses field experiments to test what actually changes behavior in sanitation, nutrition, and in women's economic lives. She has held positions at IIM Ahmedabad, Flame University, World Bank, JP Morgan, and she's faculty affiliate at the Abdul Latif Javeen Poverty Action Lab, JPAL, and the Institute of Labor Economics at Bonn. She will be presenting AI Sakhi, an intervention that uses artificial intelligence to put information, economic opportunity, and agency right in the hands of women. Sharon.
Good morning, everyone. I hope that I'm audible in the back and the front. Okay. So I was asked to present about this project that we've been working on for about 6 months now, and it's really in the area of AI readiness. And it's, I get to be the one who stands here and talks to you today about it, but it represents the work of many people, both in terms of designing the program and actually already rolling it out in UP. So when we think about AI readiness, we have to have an idea about what that means, right, for the project to make sense. And luckily, the bank has given us a framework that we talk about it, starting with connectivity, right? So this is just, do we have fast internet and do we have enough electricity? Then we move to compute. Do we have the right kind of chips? Do we have secure data centers? Then context, Archana has mentioned already. Do we have Indic languages? Do we know about the context of villages? Do we have high quality data sets on which new models can be trained, right? All of this I think of as setting us up for access. But then we need competency. So competency is about us, right? Are we ready to actually start using these new models? Can we adapt them? Can we move them forward, right? And so AI readiness is really about making sure it's not just about devices and data, but it's about people. And it's about people understanding what this is and feeling confident about using AI. And so where we are right now, actually, there's some very good news that came out of the National Family Health Surveys in the last round that came out just last month. So I don't know if you can see this very well in the whole room, but there's two things here. If you looked at the last set of bars, you see that there's very good news actually that came out of women in rural India, that between NFHS 5, about 3 years before NFHS 6, right? The percentage of women who've ever used the internet rose dramatically from about 25% of women to over 58% of women, more than doubled, right? So just the use of internet is expanding dramatically. We're still kind of low in terms of people having their own devices, having control over a device that they can use again and again. And so these facts together made us pause and think as we're wanting to get into AI readiness, who should we be getting ready? Who is the internet for? Who is the future for? Right? Does it make sense strategically, not just ethically, right? In both sense, does it make sense to teach AI to people who don't have a phone very often, right? To people, or should we focus only on people who know how to search already, who know the internet and have a device, and it's just a transition to AI? Or should we even be thinking about people who've never seen the internet, right? And this matters because what we do now determines who gets to participate in the future, right? Who gets to belong to the AI era. And so, we've taken the approach of trying to get to rural women, low educated women, people who don't necessarily have a phone all of the time of their own, right? That we think that that's the way it should go so that the future is for all of us. And this means that we're going through a couple of paradigm shifts, right? And so when you think about it, I don't know if all of you are old enough to remember, but Google wasn't always a verb, right? Google was a product originally. And I remember around 2004 talking to people in a cafeteria in a university, and we realized we were using it as a verb now, right? So just a little more than 20 years ago, information was something that was hard fought and hard won, right? To go and find out information was hard. And Google really changed that for us. It made it so we could pull, right? Now we're facing this change in the way we think about information of it's not that it's so hard to pull now, but actually what we're doing is because of social media, it's being pushed at us, right? And we're dodging it all the time, trying to figure out what's true, what's not true, right? So we're experts in search, and we're becoming experts, hopefully soon, in trust and in figuring out misinformation, right? But this is the shift that we've all been through. Okay, but when you think about the women now that we're working on with this project, it's a different shift that they're going through. because they're starting in this social media push age of information just being pushed at them without ever having gone through the search phase. And so our first project is actually trying to teach them to go backwards, to pull information. How do you use your phone and your device to just search for information, right? So that you get what you want and what's important to you rather than what other people think is important to you. And we're also guilty of pushing, right? Our interventions often are pushing very specific information to people to help them with a behavior change. But we think the broader platform is getting people to pull. And while we're working on this, there's also another paradigm shift that we are all expecting to happen, which is that technology is actually just not about information before, right? This is a very economist way to think about the internet, right? It's about information and access. But now it's a relationship, right? We're not searching for information anymore. We're having conversations with something, right? We're having conversations that allows us to start trusting, need to trust, and we're not just looking at information and making decisions, but we're actually doing new things. We're doing things with the technology. So it's moved beyond information and search to doing things, having relationship, having conversations. And so this is the big leap that we're want to help rural women make, right? To go past the kind of stages that we went through right into the internet era. So this is the project that we have going on in UP. So this started just a couple of months ago. It's called AI Sakhi. And we use behavior science to come up with the design logic for the project. And so the first comes from Pavan. And if you know Pavan well, hedonic curiosity is one of his key areas of excitement, right? We think a lot in behavior science, what we're missing out on is actually fun, right? That to get people to do something. Motivation is important, but so is fun. And so we think that any curriculum in this area should really start with wonder and having some excitement, right? Rather than building fear first. And so that sounds strange. Like, why would you build fear first? But actually, a lot of programs are so worried about AI safety that they start with the fear, right? Warn you about it and then try to get you to use it, right? It should be the other way around, right? It should be fun and that should be motivating. You should have freedom to explore it before you are, given specific things to, things to go do with it, right? So use your own imagination and think about what you could do with this new tool before we tell you, okay, what we'd like you to do with the tool. We also incorporate something that is from our earlier work on teaching QR codes, which is an idea about pause and play, right? That AI is best understood by doing something with it, not by having a lecture delivered to you about what it means to search, what is a prompt, but actually, let's try something. The fourth principle is human agency, right? That we still think that AI should be a decision helper, not a decision maker, no matter who you are, right? Autonomy needs to be preserved, and women should make their own decisions using this new tool in this relationship. And then the last, principle that came into the design of this program is peer leadership, right? That one confident woman can become many confident women, and also the impact of the peers together in a social environment makes the learning happen much faster and makes it deeper and makes it last, right? So this is the logic behind kind of any design that we would like to come up with in this area. And the way that it's been implemented now is just through four direct modules, right? But they are about 2 hours long each. And so the first one is, what is AI? And this is all done through fun things like sharing videos, trying to make something with Gemini, and then sharing it on WhatsApp, right? So the kind of things that we got into before AI became about work for us, right? But the way that we were amazed by making funny cat videos, right? Whatever it is, it starts with that. The second is how can it be used? Where can it be used? Right. So this is again like in a group together with a device. Try AI live on your own, right, while you're watching it with other people. And this is because self-efficacy predicts doing something later. So if people really think that this is for me and I can do it, and they leave the classroom that way, that's the biggest predictor of them actually adopting AI later. It also gives them a chance to kind of have an experience of mastery, and doing it on their own phone makes it sticky. The third of the four is about show and tell, but now it gets into progress, right? It gets into thinking about how AI isn't just for fun, but it's also can be connected to your own goals for your children or for your economic development, your business, whatever it is, right? That whatever that is, let's connect it to your personal and professional growth. And so then it becomes more operational. Like this is what a prompt is. This is how you refine it. Try it again, right? Go through that again and again. And because this really lets you activate intrinsic motivation because you're tapping into your own personal goals, right? That you can do this again and again. Again, it gives social reinforcement because you're doing it in a group. There's peer modeling, and all of this contributes to a growth mindset that AI is something that can be for me and for all of us. And then finally, it does end up with AI safety, right? Because it's very important still, right? But once you get excited about it, you still need to be able to do things like spot scams, fakes, and be confident that you're going to be able to use this without getting hurt. And so, a lot of this is done through activities and games, so that people actually have the experience of feeling what it's like to be scammed without the real risk of being scammed and losing real money or getting hurt, right? So that it builds judgment without real world costs, right? Gets you to, go through many rounds and of figuring out, is this a scam or this is real? Facing a consequence when it's a scam, but it's in a game, it's fun setting. Right? So that is what the training actually is right now. Um, it's been rolled out in Barabanki in UP. The team is in UP, and it's moving to Varanasi soon. Some of the examples of what women are doing when we move to the stages where it's their imagination or um, it's being attached to their own progress. So one woman runs a beauty parlor, and she used Gemini to figure out how to get her parlor listed on Google, so it shows up on Google Maps, right? A real thing that she cared about and didn't know how to do without it. People are making logos, they're making product designs, um, and not surprisingly, a lot of these women are mothers, so they're helping their kids with their homework. A lot of excitement is about being able to actually use it not just for their own progress but for their kids' progress. And then again, not surprisingly, but a lot of it is used for translation, right? So there's a lot of information out there in English that they can't access directly, and they're figuring out how this actually can help them have a whole world of information opened up to them, because coming from other languages. So it's early to show how far this is coming. We're about 15% into the project, right? But wanted to share it. But there are some green shoots. We see some interesting things happening from here. So right now, the goal of the project is by the end of the year, we'll have trained 875 of these samosakis, which are kind of self-help group leaders in UP, and then they go on and train 1.75 lakh women. So individual women will, through pictures like this, through just one group at a time, right, will build up over these months to be, nearly 1.8 lakh women. And so I think the self-help group structure here is really important to, this to see why it came in this way, right? So, we did this in UP with kind of the support of the IT ministry and with the SRLM and some others, and we were really excited about it because when we went to talk to them about it, they said to us, okay, we have this IT program already. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing to get people AI ready, but most of it is targeted at people who are young engineers, students. They are the people who are already online, right? But we also have this mandate to go through self-help groups, and this is the thing that people aren't figuring out as quickly, right? How do we actually do this? And so I think the self-help group structures, it's not just merely scale, right? Their scale, and scale is amazing because they have the cascade structure of, being able to train, master trainers and then samosakis, and then we get to the women, right? So the scale is incredible. But they're actually also just the real like social infrastructure that's right for this kind of learning, right? They have the peers, they're safe environments, women know each other. You get together once a week or once every other week for a couple of hours and learn something new, right? Like, wouldn't you like to be a part of that group, right? A group like that. We all need a group like this, but after school we lose them. Self-help groups across the country preserve this opportunity to really learn with peers in a way that can probably do more than make us AI ready. And you know, so we're thinking about this project as the infrastructure that is required for AI access, right? To get us 3/4 of the way on that list of 4 C's. But what we want behavior science really do now through this is to build women's agency, right? That we're really thinking about, do women in these groups, are they able to make their own decisions confidently, act on them, and that means they really have control over their own lives, right? Then AI readiness will be something very meaningful, right, to them, not just as, as a buzzword or the economy, or just because it should be, but have a deeper catalytic um, impact. And so that also, means that we need to draw out a couple of the, I don't know what the opposite of a green shoot is, but some warnings, right? Some moments of caution that also exist from the early days of the program in UP. And that's, we do still see resistance from people, right? We do still see some things of comments like, I'm just too old for this, right? From women who are younger than me, right? I'm just too old for AI. This is not for me. Or I'm not sure about this. I'm still going to need help from, my daughter, or from somebody else, right? And so I think the next phase of this is really, building on what we've done now, to think about, how do we then kind of unpack the mechanisms to get to agency. And so our new learning agenda and our new design is focusing around these three things, right? So confidence, really, like confidence that I can do this. I know how to use AI. Imagination. Not only do I know how to do it, but I can connect it to all of these other things that are important in my life, right? That I have the imagination to think about building something new. And then permission. And of course, I think you can guess that when we're talking about agency, we don't mean permission of other people, right? It's permission for myself, right? We want women to feel like this is for me, this is socially acceptable, but I want to do it, right? So we're going to be looking at, kind of more design changes and some learning agenda as we hopefully scale this project even beyond UP and beyond this initial phase, looking at confidence, imagination, and permission. So there are many of my colleagues who've worked on this project, and so please reach out to any of us if you'd like to know more about what this project is going to look like in the future, and you'd like to get involved. Thank you.